Okay, this is May 10th. We're going over the daily money-making setups from the trading day of May 9th using the processtrading.com right edge trading system. We're using the S&P E-mini 1500 tick bar chart. Today was an uptrending day for the S&P E-mini, but it didn't start off that way. And many times, an uptrending day won't start that way. In particular, in this rectangle here, here's how the day started off. This is around the 9:30 time frame, and we see that the price just kind of whipsawed around the process trading VWAP line. It really wasn't giving any indication whether it wanted to go up or down. There was a struggle between supply and demand, and nobody was a clear winner. When we got to this point here, we would almost think that there was an oversupply and it was taking out demand. And we see this type of action from the process trading VWAP line. We know that the VWAP line, when it's gray, you can take a short trend trade, and when it's yellow, you would take a long. So here it is gray, and then it's yellow. And here it is gray, and then it's yellow. And here it is gray again. So the price and the action is very congested, not wanting to tip the hand one way or another. So how are we going to know how to play the trading on the S&P E-mini today? Well, we know that the process trading has two types of trading that it facilitates within its system. Above the three discretionary indicators at the bottom, which facilitate counter trend and discretionary trades, above it is the price with the timing alert dots and the VWAP, which has a system where you can trend trade. So as we went along today and watched the price action, as it went down here, our first indication of what was going to happen is when we came into the Intergy indicator. The Intergy, and it has a green Intergy, which stands for positive energy going into price action, which would be more representative of demand, went up, and then when it's a gray, that demand is weakening and falling off, and when it goes red, that's when supply comes in and it takes the price down. Now, we also know that the Intergy indicator, which stands for internal energy, goes in apex types of formations. It goes to an apex and then a valley. It goes to an apex below and then a valley up. An apex and then down. An apex and then down. An apex and then down. So we know that that is the configuration that it takes. And when we got to this point here on the Intergy indicator, it had hit the apex, and right over here we see a trending dot. Now that's not an absolute that a trend will come, but that's just a signal for us to be aware that a trend might be in progress. And since the energy is starting, the supply side of the energy is starting to wane, and the demand side is coming in with the shortening of the red bars and the introduction of more positive green bars, which is more of a sign of demand again. When this timing alert dot, which is again a trend type of signal, comes in, then we look to the rest of the discretionary indicators as well, because trends can often start with a counter trend trade. And that's what this will be, because we're going to go long here, but the VWAP is gray, which basically says that from a trending standpoint, you would want to take a short trade. But in this case, we're going to take a counter trend trade. And we now look down to the sentiment oscillator. And the sentiment oscillator had gone to the bottom, and it's like this almost guaranteed almost 100% of the time when you have the momentum line, that's this tricolored line here, when you have the momentum line crossing up through the dashed sentiment line, price is going to follow in that direction. So we see the momentum has shifted. It's not coming down anymore. It's not below the bottom of the oscillator. It's starting to cross the midline of the oscillator. And also over in this direction, the sentiment line is starting to slope up. But the crossing and the direction of the crossing, whether it's crossing down and price goes down, and in this case, it's crossing up. So that's another reason we know that this trending dot is signaling it to the upside, because the momentum is crossing the sentiment, and it's going to take the sentiment to the upside. As well, we look at the short-term trend oscillator, and the short-term trend oscillator, which had been angled down, which is a sure sign of price declining, hugged the lower boundary line, and then came up above it. So it's starting to slope up on the short-term trend. So we do have positive information on all three of our discretionary indicators, plus we have a pre-alert of a trending dot. Now we have positive energy coming into it. So anywhere in this area here, we can get into the trade to the long side. That's how we know and how to trade the consolidation that takes place here. We read the discretionary indicators. That's what kept us out of taking these trades. We waited until we had more certainty in the trade. The discretionary indicators lined up here. We had the extra information of the timing alert dot. And so we could have got in right here. And in fact, this is the counter trend trade that started the uptrend. Now that we know that we're in an uptrend, had we not taken this trade here, we can simply follow the process trading trend trading system itself. Now, as we go along here, we see here's another trending dot. This trending dot here is within the gray bars for weakness. So that doesn't tell us absolutely that the trend is going to be up. This did indicate for us the trend is going to be up, but you see it flattened out here, and you can't tell for certain whether after this flattening price is going to come down or go up. So this alerts us to that a trend might likely be imminent, and we have to wait to see which direction that's going to be in. Had we got in over here, we're already very profitable, and now that it's going sideways, now we have to be prepared to manage the trade appropriately because of this trending dot here. However, as we look down at the other sentiment indicators, the sentiment oscillator hit the midline and bounced back up, and the momentum line cut through the sentiment line to the upside. So we already know right at this point here where the energy, the green energy, started to come back into price, which is demand starting to come back in, that it's going to go to the upside. As well, there is a very strong indication from the short-term trend oscillator, because it hit the pullback line, the trend line hit the pullback line, this yellow line, and indeed it hit the pullback line and then it pulled back up. And not only that, it started to slope. When you see this type of slope in the short-term trend oscillator, that's very significant that a trend may well be in progress. So now we continue our analysis and look up at this point we have a very positive sign from the short-term trend oscillator right here. Then, once again, we have the momentum line cutting through the sentiment line to the upside. But not only that, we have the sentiment line itself cutting through the upper bound. When that sentiment line goes above the upper bound, you know that there is strong demand to take prices higher. The sentiment is overwhelming to take prices higher. And we see that as we move up through the indicators here with the yellow indicator, which is another indication of strength. And then right here, we have the VWAP, and it's yellow, so we can take any timing alert dot that is below the price bars. And here is the timing alert dot below the price bar. The trading technique in process trading, right edge trading management that you use to do that is the bar where that dot occurs. You look to the high and you place your trade 2 points above that to enter to the long side, 2 points above the high of that bar. The reason for that is the technique in the right edge system of process.com trading is to buy into strength or sell into weakness. Well, we already know whether we got in here or if we did not get in here. Here's our first opportunity to really get in with a high probability of going with the trend. And we know we want to buy into strength. We place it in. We would have got in right around this area. And if you stay in it, you can see that as you're going along, here is another trending dot. You don't usually get this many trending dots congested like that. So it's a very strong indication that the demand is high. As well, you see the short-term trend oscillator continuing to slope up with the trend line hovering above the upper bound, another very strong sign. Now you have the sentiment line itself above the upper bound, which we just discussed how strong of a signal that is. So had you continued to take this trade up to its duration, or even longer really, but up to this point here, that was good for 14 points. Using the trade management technique that we talked about. So you didn't capture it all. You didn't capture the first 2 points, but you did capture 14 points. The next possible place that we get in, because we know it's a trending day now, and you can see under process trading, you can see that the VWAP told you the whole day trended. It's yellow the whole day. Now, it does turn green and blue. Well, those are more indications that it is appropriate to trade the timing alert dots. So this is our next timing alert dot here. And we can actually just trade with the trade management system using the timing alert dots, the trade management system that we just went over with this trade, and doing it appropriately with the right color of VWAP. So we could just trade with the upper indicators here, but as we look down at the discretionary indicators, we'll see if they confirm and agree with our analysis. So we go to the short-term trend oscillator. We see that it had declined fractionally below the upper bound, but now it's starting to cross up again. Again, a very strong sign. The short-term trend oscillator shows no sign that this trend is diminishing at all. When we go up to the sentiment oscillator, again, we see sentiment above the upper bound, and also we see that the momentum line is crossing up through it. Just prior to that, we saw momentum, and the momentum line came all the way down to the bottom boundary, but price could not recede very much. So when we look now at the energy that's coming into the Emini at this point, we see that this, in fact, was a pullback. We don't see any red like over here where demands or supply started to take over. We just see that this is a pullback in demand, and here comes demand again with the green energy showing positive energy and price to the upside. And we look up here, of course, the VWAP is yellow. That's what allows us to take this timing dot. We take the timing dot by going 2 points above the high, and we get into here, and that trade is worth 6 points. So this is just a repetitive mechanical process. It takes the emotion out of trading, and this is how you let your profits run rather than worrying and wondering, are you on the right side of the trade? The discretionary indicators will tell you if you're on the right side of the trade, and you employ the correct trade management technique as we showed. And if you analyze these, and you can see in the next two trade, here's another trend type of dot, and here's another trend alert dot, and you can see that the energy comes in here, and now at this point, energy is starting to come in as well. Now, the energy that's coming in is not as strong as it was way back here, and where this is good for 4 points, this is only good for 2 points, and this is only good for 3 points. And when I say only, you remember that we give up 2 points right in the beginning, so you actually could have taken 4 points out of this if you were more of a risk taker, and you could have got 5 points out of this. But this 3 points and this 2 points is on top of the 6 points and the 14 points that we already gained. Now, an interesting situation here is that it's a trending up day. It's still trending up, so we honor the process trading VWAP, but the sentiment we see is in a downslope. And that really tells you that supply might be starting to come in. And in effect, here supply did come in. We see the energy going out of the demand side of it, and we see supply coming in. But again, we had the momentum go all the way down below the lower bound, and price only receded to this point. And now we see the momentum start to come back up, and that very significant factor where momentum crossed up through the sentiment line. We follow all the indicators up. We take this timing alert dot with the proper trade management, and we're in for another 3 points. So again, a trending day can often start with a contrarian trade, but you don't have to get in immediately with a contrarian trade. You could get in when the trend has truly established itself and just follow the trend trading system. So that's the daily setups for today, May 9th. And if you want to see more of these, you could subscribe to the channel. And if you want to know more about the Right Edge trading system, then just head on over to processtrading.com. And there's videos and other information over there that tells you all about the system and the way that we trade for profits out of the S&P Emini 1500 on a daily basis. And this daily setups, daily money making setups is also over there every day as well. And you might want to check out the blogs as well. So hope your trading was good and successful, and I hope this is somewhat informative. And I'll see you on the next video.